We don't know. If they're already lived in the building. Right. It's just so or something. You can only do so much. There.
Yeah. Well, and if you want to. Okay.
You did that last time.
Yeah, it's a cool job, man.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. We have rocket. Oh, wonderful. You can book these. Use it.
I haven't been in the library yet. Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, for That was the house, two houses. 17, 17, and
Ask the trick question.
And they have several other candidates here. If you have well-known candidates. Anyway, sir. Okay, there you go. Thank you. Yeah.
Can you read them all?
Yeah.
I have horrible handwriting.
No, that's what mine too, so. I don't know if I asked all of them, but
Okay.
that's a good question. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll have a few minutes when you go.
And I got. I'll do that for my- I'll ask them.
Yeah. And in this room, it's so dead, you might have to speak out.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I had YouTube live. Thank you. I didn't know that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mine rang as I came in the door. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, here's, you just had a question.
Where is, what's the scope of the camera?
It's just on the.
And.
I'll try to help out with
It's just that.
Yes, sure.
And that was.
So it's a nice fountain.
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Hey, everyone, I think we are ready to get started. Thank you so much for coming out. My name is Shane. I'm the current affairs specialist here at the library. If you're wondering what that is, you're not alone. I'm still figuring it out. But among other things, I try to put together things like this. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the candidates, Kitty and Earl, for agreeing to do this and share their views. We have cards in the back and pens, so if you want to ask a question, you can write it down and I'll be floating around and you can just make eye contact with me or hold up your card and I'll make sure it gets to Leonard. Okay, any questions? Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is read our land acknowledgement. Oh, and huge thank you to Leonard for agreeing to moderate it. He did a great job last time. Really happy to have him. Okay, land acknowledgement. I am on the traditional homelands of the 4 bands of the Spokane Tribe of Indians: Upper Band, Middle Band, Lower Band, Chewelah Band. Since time immemorial, the Spokane Tribe of Indians has lived and cared for these grounds, identifying themselves as flesh of the earth. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We show gratitude to the land, river, and peoples who have been fishing, hunting, harvesting, and gathering here for generations. May we learn from one another's stories so that we may nurture the relationship of the people of the Spokane Tribe and to all who share this land. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jean, the president of this chapter of the League of Women Voters.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming and taking some of your precious time to step up to your civic responsibilities. This is always very inspiring to me to see people show up at events like this. Voting is the least we should do to hold our democracy together. Our mission is defending democracy and empowering voters. And that's part of what we're doing this evening by holding this forum. I think Shane covered most of what we need to know, and the restrooms are probably easy to find and well signed here in the library. The only thing we didn't cover. Susie in the red jacket is very excited for me to tell you guys that we have a copy of our civics textbook for high school students available this evening for you to look at. It's also good for adults, it turns out, because civics classrooms are so far in our history. And it also covers tribal law, which we're pretty proud of. So this evening, we're here to listen to Earl Moore and Kitty Klitsky, and our League of Women Voters volunteers, Laird Kransdorf and Mike Bell, who's also our treasurer, have a bit of business to cover with you and process about how the evening will go. Thank you.
There's a couple of things. I'll start, then Mike will tell you how the time is gonna go. You can both see this here. Okay. Just let you know, okay, each candidate will have 3 minutes for an introductory statement. I'll ask the questions, and then after I ask them, each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer. And you keep looking at this because he's gonna have the time, so you'll know when your time is coming up. Questions will not be shared. You haven't seen the questions. You must answer the question, and time is not to be used for attacking your opponent. You want to get insight into what you feel about the issues and not putting down your opponent. You cannot use cell phones, laptops, or other devices during the forum, except for reading the introductory statement. We'll have questions from the audience. I've already got a few questions already. And at the end, you'll each have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Okay, he'll explain to you how the time is going to work now.
Well, we can see the timer right here. It'll turn yellow when you have 15 seconds left. And then it'll turn to stop in red when your time's up. So.
Everybody ready? Okay, we'll start with Klitsky, 3 minutes for your opening statement.
Hi, I'm Kitty Klitsky. I was born and raised in Spokane. Okay, I don't have a very loud voice. I was a cheerleader in high school at Rogers High School and I ruined it there. So it was a great time, but it did hurt my voice a little. So I'm gonna struggle a little bit with being loud enough for everyone, but my mom graduated from Shadle High School right over here, and my grandmother graduated from North Central High School. I grew up in the northeast side of town, served in the military, came back and started working on land use and transportation issues after I was recruited into an AmeriCorps position at the Lands Council. But suffice it to say, I'm born and raised here. I've lived in this district for 20 years. And then I'm trying to be succinct, so I wrote something down. We all want safe, walkable, and a well-planned city where everyone feels a sense of belonging and taxpayers are protected from overspending. In the last few years, we have lost some ground on these core values. We've seen a lot of excuses, finger pointing, and blame as our budget has circled the drain and our unhoused population has climbed. I have 20 years of experience working with neighborhoods, community leaders, business leaders, and local governments on challenging topics that seemed impossible at first. I am not interested in pointing fingers and blaming past decision makers. I will bring a can-do approach to our challenges. I believe in Spokane. We have an amazing culture of service and volunteerism. And with strong leadership and comprehensive approaches, we can meet our challenges and build an even better city. I really want to thank the League of Women Voters and Spokane Public Libraries for bringing us both here today and having this discussion. They're two institutions that have been so essential for our democracy, and our libraries are so essential for my childhood and my daughter's childhood. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Candidate Moore?
I too want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this tonight. And I thank the library. Like I was sharing, I've been coming to this library since a long time. Spokane has always been like family to me. My young son and I came here in 1978. I came and I attended college. I graduated and I got a job at Deaconess Hospital, and I worked there for 33 years as a registered respiratory therapist. My son grew up and attended schools here and also went to Eastern. He got his degree in teaching, and he has been an educator at North Central High School for the last 20 years. So you see, this is home. I'm from Montana originally, but this is my home. This is what we call it, home. And it's been very difficult for me to see this city that I have grown to love in the last 45 years struggle so much. It has made me want to take action, and that is why I'm running for city council. Because somebody needs to step up, and I felt I was called to do that. It appears to me that the city has strayed from the path that serves best the interests of all of the people in our city. In recent years, the divisive nature of party politics, I feel, has overshadowed the values, the compassion, and the unity that we all have known and held so dear. Rather now, I see just self-centeredness, self-mindedness. And it's my desire to leave a lasting and positive impact on you, your families, our businesses, this whole community, through sensible policy making that always reflects your voice. And I think that is so important in our city. I offer a solemn promise to the voters that I will prioritize the crucial matters. I tell you, hear me, I am not a politician. I do not plan to run for president of council or mayor someday. I am here for now, at this time, to help make our city safer and better, and a place where all can live and be comfortable, safe, and happy. Thank you.
Thank you. First question. Some people say public service is a calling. It comes with criticism and late hours and that. What attracted you we'll start with candidate Moore. What attracted you to the idea of running for public office?
First off, I would say I think it was a calling. I have worked here for over 40 years, been involved in the community. I've started attending meetings, city council meetings, 2 mayors back. And over the years, I have seen things that need to be changed. I've seen the good and I've seen the bad. And now, as I decided to take action and run for office, I could make a difference. And what really brought me to this point was, we need change. We need better. And I think I can do that. That is why I'm running.
Thank you. Candidate Klitzky? You need a question repeated? Did you hear it all right?
Why don't you go ahead and repeat it just so I make sure I answer it fully?
Some people say public service is a calling. It has a lot of aspects, people criticizing late hours. What attracted you to the idea of running for public office? For this particular office?
Well, I do have to say that there were people that suggested that I run, and for quite a while, I just said no. And it took me a long time to think about it. I ended up, my daughter had COVID in the first half of March, and then I got COVID the second half of March, and people were calling. I was saying no. But then as I recovered and started thinking about it in April, my life's work has been on land use and transportation issues, comprehensive plans, and trying to build a better city through good planning and good revenue projections and good public facilities planning. Sorry, Susie, I'm trying to talk loud. I looked up when the next 10-year comprehensive plan update is due, and it's due in the middle of 2026, which would be right in the middle of this term. And I also have noticed that there has been less emphasis on land use planning and multimodal transportation in the last few years on council. And I think there's been a bit of a loss of institutional memory on those issues on council. And so that really, really tipped the scales to me. And I started saying yes to people. I know this is going to be hard on my family, and I know this is challenging, and people do get divisive, but it's such an important issue, and there's so much potential to solve the problems that we've been fighting about in a data-driven, well-informed process that brings in a lot of community input, that I couldn't say no to that. I really think it's a great opportunity right now.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh. Next question. What is your opinion about Measure 1 that calls for 0.2% sales tax for criminal justice, including a new jail? Candidate Klitzky?
So we all need, we all agree, I think, that we need a safe and up-to-date modern criminal justice system and facilities. I think that's true, and that I think we all agree that we need to fully fund our public safety system. However, our county and our city has public facilities siting processes and capital facilities planning processes that what could have been used to detail this kind of ask to the community and make sure that we have the right size of a request and that we can afford to build, maintain, staff it. And I don't think that we've done that process in this decision. The last time we did a siting process for the jail, the site that was chosen was not the site that the county is actually promoting using now. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that we use the tools we have available. We're looking at some pretty old data, and we also have a very non-specific plan for this. I think this was kind of a missed opportunity to address several needs that we have as a community very specifically, so the community knows what they're getting. I think we need public facilities, but I think we also need to improve our court system, have more mental health and drug treatment resources. Oh, I only have 8 seconds left. And we need to fully fund our police, firefighters, and other essential public services. So we could do this in a more comprehensive way with a real public safety measure instead of just a jail. I'm sorry.
Candidate Moore, how would you answer that?
I definitely believe we need a new jail. I definitely believe that we cannot afford not to build a new jail. I do believe we need more education, and the county commissioners and the city council are working on that right now. In fact, I just saw there will be a meeting in a couple of days, and I encourage people to get out and to see and to listen and to learn. We need a new jail. The new jail, the presentation I went to that at that time was that they would build a new jail alongside the old jail. And then the old jail would have those wraparound services. We definitely need better mental health care, better addiction care. And so in the starting stages, they're letting you know, we need a new jail and it's gonna cost money. They told you how much it would be on your tax burden for yourself. So I think it's important that you get involved, have input, and let them listen to the voice of all of you people here tonight. What are your ideas? We always go to the council with our problem. My idea is I want you to come with solutions. And let's make a difference. We need a new jail, no ifs, ands, or buts, and we can't afford not to have a new jail. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a question from the audience, and just the mayor just presented her budget. And it looks like there's a $20 million deficit. A couple of ideas that she put forward was a hiring freeze, some increased fees, and a 1% property tax, among many others. Question from the audience: how would you address the $20 million deficit in the city budget? And specifically, how would you address it? And candidate Moore.
Specifically, I would like to see that budget. It's as like we are sharing right now, we're just hearing in the media. And remember, when you read the media, you don't always, it's not always what you see, it's what they see, it's what they perceive they see. And they are presenting us with this big budget deficit. I think one of the first things we need to look at is, yes, there is, and it's called inflation. The other thing, our mayor brought us through some very difficult situations, one of them being COVID. It crashed our economy. It hit our city very, very hard. So as for specific, I can't be that specific about it because I don't know the details of the budget. But the things that she is presenting, I don't think are outlandish. I don't think they're out of the question. I think we all need to maybe tighten our belts and look at what we need, and then support our mayor and our city council. Come again with solutions. Look through it yourself and see where you think we can tighten our budgets and what we can do. Because it's not a here thing, the mayor put it out, it's all her fault, the 20 million in the hole. I don't believe that, but that's how our city has worked. A lot of it's inflation, COVID. Things that have happened in the city in the last.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Candidate Klitzky, how would you address the deficit?
Well, I think that one fair point that candidate Moore made was that it is kind of hard to see what's going on. I tried to watch the workshop today and it kept saying waiting for live stream events to start for an hour. So more transparency would be helpful. But I think that we could have done better to address this hole that we've gotten into. We came in a few years ago with a budget surplus, and now we're in a very structural budget deficit that's very intimidating to go into. But there's a lot of opportunity for making a difference on this. The city doesn't have a grant writer right now, and I think it would be very helpful to solve this problem if we are helping our different departments in the city go out and achieve grants to get funding and help with some of our issues. Aside from the COVID relief dollars and how they were spent, I think that since we have 300 funded but unfilled positions, we need to look at how many of those we're still managing to operate well without. Some of those might be enterprise positions, though. We need to get those filled because our enterprise programs actually make the city money. So we need to evaluate that really well. We also need to do a better job writing our contracts. We have some pretty not great facilities that we are paying a lot of money for. We're paying $750,000 a month for a very dismal, poorly maintained police precinct next to the jail downtown, We're leasing that from the county and we are paying a lot for it and it is not in good shape. We also are paying way too much for this track shelter.
Good time, just.
That isn't even plumbed. Sorry,
Sorry.
I've really struggled with 90 seconds.
Next question. Communication with the public is always a challenge for elected officials. How do you plan to foster viable communication within your district? Anna Glitzky?
Whoever asked that question, good job. That's a really good question. So I think that we have to have a very comprehensive approach in reaching out to the public. We all want to live in a democracy with a lot of transparency and a lot of public involvement, but people are busy. There's a lot of things keep competing for their attention. And the standard practice in the past has been expecting citizens to come to you and give you their feedback. And I think things that we have to do better are going to where people are to receive feedback and giving people real alternatives to react to, and instead of just saying, here's the budget, we're $20 million short, what are your priorities? It would be really nice to have a little bit of analysis and talk about what those 300 vacant positions are that are unfilled right now and what they do and how it's affecting the city, having them not be filled or whether we need them. Some analysis of what the benefits and the disadvantages would be to fund things more or less. We need a little bit more to react to than just this vague, what are your priorities? Here's what we're spending now, and here's this giant gap. It would be nice to bring out a little bit more analysis to the public to react to. And I think there's great ways to do that with workshops and education, but also I think we can use our online tools. Surveys are great as long as you do a good job getting them out to people and give people something really to react to instead of just saying, what do you think? I have a lot of experience working on public participation. Oh, sorry.
All right.
Thank you for telling me because it's kind of off to the side.
And how would you include the communication within your district?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you. One of the first things I would say, and since I have been out campaigning and I see some of my doorbellers here tonight, thank you. We, in combination with myself, my team and my manager, I have doorbelled 4,800 doors. And I'm going to share with you what I'm hearing from the people at the doors and what they're sharing with me and what I'm going to share with them. Number one, first thing I say to my people that I'm meeting, I would, right here in this library, I would hold regular meetings. I'm retired. Every day is open for me. And I would have meetings and I would have one in the evening or I would have it in the afternoon. I would find out what the people want. Nobody that I have talked to at the doors has said, oh no, that's not going to work. They're saying, yeah, I don't want to go downtown at night. The other thing I think we need to keep educating people. And the other thing, and you can do on-tool lines and have all the planning you want, but I'll bet there's a couple people in here, I know a couple that they don't do computers. They don't do Zoom, but they come to the library. And that's one of the things that I will do is I will be, and that is a solemn commitment and promise that I make, is that I will be in this library. I will go up to Indian Trail Library and I'll be there. And if I have to sit there by myself, I can find things to do, but I want the people to come to listen and hear. And I think that they can have great solutions. And I'll keep saying that. We have problems, but I want to hear solutions.
Karen, we understand.
Thank you.
This question from the audience. What will you specifically do or propose on the council to combat the rampant drug problem that has increased in Spokane? Specifically, what would you do? Can it more?
Well, for one thing, right up front is I want to have a safe, livable Spokane for everybody. And the very first thing I would do is I would support our police chief. I don't know if many of you know, I organized a rally about 6 months ago. I pulled 100 people into Riverfront Park. And yes, I did have a permit. I pulled them over to city council. I took 2,200 petitions from the people all around Indian Trail up on 5 Mile, supporting our police chief. So the first thing I would say is we need to come together and support the police chief and hire police officers to do the job that they're trained to do, not be this inner fighting We need police officers. We need to support them. When those men put their blue pants on every day, I want them to know that city council has their back. And when they know that they're supported, they can, I think their job is gonna be more, not gonna, yes, it can be more safe and more meaningful. That's the number one thing I would do, is get our police up and running, support them, and do what they think is best, because they're the trained professionals to deal with this. Thank you.
Chairman Klitzky, what would you specifically recommend or support to combat the drug problem we have?
So at the doors in different public forums that I've been to and talking to the public, most people have said they want compassionate, compassionate approaches to drug treatment. So we need to have the resources on hand to provide people with treatment when we also we've criminalized outdoor or public drug use. And I think that gives a lot of opportunity for officers to approach them and offer them resources. But we don't have a lot of resources to offer them right now. So as part of our public safety investments, we need to include those treatments. Otherwise, we're just kind of perpetuating the problem and moving people along, but they're still there. So that would be one thing I would like to see, is more investment in those kinds of treatments. There are state and federal grants available, and I think that's another reason to have a grant writer. I have done 12 hours of police ride-alongs and met with my public outreach officers as well. And one of the things that they identified when I asked them what other interdisciplinary resources would you like access to, is resources for co-occurring incidents and people who are having co-occurring issues. That means that they're dealing with a mental health issue or a disability, and they have addiction issues. So what's happening with our police officers is they can't really take them to the treatment facilities for addiction or the facilities for mental health, because they don't do co-occurring. There's a very small facility right now that we have to do co-occurring.
Chairman Klitzky, I hate to cut you off.
I'm sorry. Thank you. No, it's totally fine. It's a complex issue.
It is. Question from the audience. Your stance on water fluoridation in the Spokane water system. And I think, Chairman Klitzky, you go first on this one. On fluoridating the water system.
So this hasn't been an issue that I've heard at public forums or at the doors, so I haven't looked into this issue much. I know that our city council has studied it, and I know that there's citizens with opinions on both sides. But I would really like to decide this matter when it comes up and hear from both sides. I have not heard from public health on this. But it looks like our city council did some studies and found that we already have some naturally occurring fluoride in our water. And what the consideration is to bring it up slightly more so that it would have an impact on dental health. As long as that is affordable and there aren't any new public health issues that I hear about, I'm probably inclined to support it. But right now we have a big budget deficit happening. So that would not be a budget priority for me. But I would like to hear more from the people and have a fair public engagement process and hearing before I make that decision.
Thank you. Candidate Moore. Fluoridation of the water system.
I definitely am not in favor of fluoridation. I don't think it's in. Fluoridate my dog, fluoridate my grass, we're gonna fluoridate our dishes, we're gonna be fluoridating our clothes. I don't think that's necessary, but the number one thing that I bring up is the citizens of Spokane have voted twice and said, no, we do not want fluoridation. So everything I stand on, and I'm saying, I want to hear your voice, I want to hear your voice. What better voice than the vote? And people have voted it down twice. I have concerns about what it will do to the water and about putting it back into the river. And like, I'm not that educated on it yet either, but I know this, the citizens said no, not once, but twice. So why are we even doing this? Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. What is your opinion about Proposition 1 that would prohibit encampments within 1,000 feet of any public or private school, public park, playground, or licensed childcare facility? Candidate Moore, I think you're first of this group.
I'll keep saying this, I want a safe and beautiful city. And as your candidate for city council, my number one priority is to create a safe environment. I want it safe for adults, I want it safe for teenagers, and I want it safe for our children. I think it would be nice to go down and have dinner, walk out of a nice restaurant and not have your car windows busted out or your car gone. Who can afford that? Not me. I think teenagers should be happy to go down to our new one stadium, high school football games right downtown, but their parents should be able to feel comfortable that they're safe. And as for children, we have all this beautiful equipment in the parks. I was at the park Sunday, the doorbell in my neighborhood, there were 3 people right there in the parking lot doing drugs. No children on the playground. They're empty because nobody feels safe. I do not want them within 1,000 feet, and I support this without a doubt. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think
I think we all want to feel safe in our community, especially where our children are concerned. And some of the concerns that candidate Moore brought up have personally affected me. My child's bus stop is in a parking lot for Cannon Pool, and we have a lot of these problems in that area that she was talking about with the open drug use. The problem is the open drug use is already illegal. But we have an understaffed police department and we have really slow response times on some of these issues. We've called the police many times already this school year for incidents at that parking lot, and we haven't got a response before our kids get on the bus. It's about a 10-minute window where we're a captive audience. So I understand the problem. The problem is this law would not really solve the problem. It would cover about 2/3 of our city where there would be no camping allowed, and that's interesting. But what about the 1/3 of our city that isn't covered in that? When the city has done big sweeps before of downtown, my neighborhood's one of the closest neighborhoods to downtown. I live in West Central. We had a ton of camping in our neighborhood because of that. So my strategy would not be to just move people along. I think we need more facilities to get people off of our streets and stable. And when I'm at the door, that's what people are asking for, is compassionate responses to our houseless population, to our drug problem, and to homeless problem. So I don't think that gets us any closer to that.
all right. Kind of on what you were saying, Candidate Moore, if you had a magic wand and someone said you can have one thing to do to alleviate the homeless population in Spokane, what would you specifically do with that one wish?
Well, right up front, I'm going to tell you, there is no magic wand. Everybody, the doors that I'm going to, people need to be safe. And I think that it's a big ugly onion. We need we need to get people off the roads. And I think one of the ways we do that is some high density housing. We need to look at that very, very, nobody wants it in their backyard. We need to look at very carefully as a group and as a city that cares about others. I think the number one thing is to beef up our police department and let the police do the jobs that they've been hired to do. And we need to be able to keep people away from our schools, our churches, our daycares. And I think the number one thing is, I wish I had a magic wand. You know, we talk about this so much right now. This has been going on for 10 years. And it's like it's just come to a head because people don't feel safe. So my magic wand would be to support again our police department. That's what we need to do. We need to hire more policemen. And yes, I do want to have compassion and understanding with people on the streets, but they need to be accountable, the ones that are for what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Blitzky.
And we're choosing just one thing.
Yes, if you had a magic wand, you could have one wish with that magic wand to alleviate the homelessness.
Oh, to alleviate.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's just one thing to alleviate homelessness?
Right.
Oh, okay. Oh, that is
You
so
got a
hard.
minute 25.
Oh, geez. One thing. Well, maybe, if we had a diverse array of housing choices, whether it's supportive housing with wraparound services for folks that need to get stabilized, to, lower income housing for folks just starting out in life. We also need housing for seniors to downsize into. If we had the ability to just build that, and it's not true that nobody wants it in their neighborhood. West Central, East Central, some of those urban infill neighborhoods really need it. We have a lot of vacant lots and zombie houses, up and down Division. We have a ton of vacant buildings. We have the space for these kinds of housing. We just need to make sure that it gets built. So I guess some kind of unlimited housing authority that we could develop these different kinds of housing in the public interest would be amazing. I don't think it's very realistic that that would happen. I don't think the city could become a housing authority. But if we had enough money in our housing trust fund and gave ourselves those powers, maybe we should experiment with that, because I have talked to people, especially up in Indian Trail and 5 Mile. There's quite an older population up there, and there's nowhere to downsize to. So we need that spectrum of housing.
Thank you. Kenny Kliskey, this will be yours. Then Kenny, do you favor impact fees? If so, what specific areas such as roads, parks, utilities, do you think those fees should address if you support impact fees?
Yes, I support impact fees, and we have impact fees now. The challenge is that our impact fee system is not robust enough to provide infrastructure on the fringes of our city and greenfield developments. So they're not a magic bullet, but it is very important that new growth pay for itself, because right now what we're doing is we're allowing our current taxpayers to have to extend infrastructure and pay for the costs of new growth. And then our plan is that we'll just allow this next new growth, and somehow that will pay for the growth that already happened. That's why we see so much traffic congestion and strain on our infrastructure right now, while the center of the city has a lot of infrastructure problems that are preventing development. We're extending water out to far-flung neighborhoods in Indian Trail and 5 Mile. Meanwhile, my neighborhood's dealing with a 106-year-old water main. And so if multi-use or mixed-use development wanted to come, not mixed-use, I'm sorry, multi-family development wanted to come into my neighborhood, would that pipe have enough flow to support those apartments? Our neighborhood embraces that kind of development. It's not a NIMBY issue. It's an infrastructure issue. We need to make sure that we have a plan in place to make new growth pay for itself, and our current taxpayers should be paying for infrastructure that we benefit from in our own neighborhoods.
Any more?
I agree with very much of what you're saying. I do agree with the impact fee, but I think that we can't always run and slap on more fees to take care of the issues that we're dealing with. Yes, we do need to pre-plan, but infrastructure planning is very, very difficult. Just because you're building these big homes in these areas, that doesn't mean you're going to get a new schoolhouse next year. It takes time, and they have to see what is there to what you need. And I do think that everybody should pay their fair share in the tax issue of the infrastructure. You say a lot of these issues and stuff that we do have, a lot of it, I don't think it's just poor planning. I think that in years gone by, people have seen what a beautiful city we have. Spokane is gorgeous. It's on the river. It offers so much. That attracted me: skiing, hunting, hiking, everything is here. And the population has exploded here in the last 10 years. It's exploding. And so I think it's going to take a lot of planning. And it's going to take a lot, I'm going to say this to you guys again, it's going to take input from the citizens in our city. And I do say to you, what do you want? Come to us some more with your ideas and your solutions. Don't just let city council sit and make them, and then you get upset because they didn't do what you want. Get involved. That's what I
Any
did.
more your time? So,
Thank you.
thank you. There seems to be, this will be Kenny more, there seems to be a growing rift between the council and the administration. How do you think that could be resolved?
Well, there does seem to be a growing rift. If you attend council meetings like I have and watched the vote for the last 2 years. 4-2, 4-2, 4-2. I don't know if you know what that means, but it means that they're always voting the same. I think one of the things, and I think that this is something that I can bring to the city council is we need bridge builders. And I'm not talking about the Monroe Street Bridge. You all know what I'm talking about. We need to be able to come to the table as adults. And I'm an adult. I am an adult. And I will listen to what people have to say. I will make the effort to work with the council people. I've already met with Zach Sapone, Karen Stratton, to find out what is going on that we have this turmoil. I can't speak for the mayor at all. I don't know what her issue is, that they always are voting against a lot of the things that she wants. But I do know as a council member, I would be a bridge. I could listen, I'm a good listener, and I would make every effort for everybody to be heard. And again, what do I say? Come and talk to me, get involved. We'll meet at the library and we'll deal with some of these issues. But I'm not sure. Politics. I want politics out of my city council. No politics.
Any more? Hands up, thank you. And quick, the rift between the council and administration, how would you remedy that if you could?
I think we all want a transparent and cooperative government. And I think that we've had a little bit of trouble with transparency in the last probably several years in our city government. So I think that one thing we can do is try to improve transparency across both chambers. Everything that I've worked on in the last 20 years has had to have bipartisan support, especially at the county level. And luckily, I've had some success there as well. Being a Democrat myself, I was working with usually 3 Republican county commissioners or 2 Republican county commissioners and a Democrat. And I think it's okay to talk about which party we're in and still be able to come together on issues. If we talk about what we really want to do, we're transparent about our goals and we're collaborative about our solutions, we can do that and still have our identities and our beliefs and our values. And I think that's happened a lot in our city. I think like my Commissioner French and I helped lead the Yes for Buses campaign both times before we got it passed. We had to run it twice and we made some adjustments after the voters' feedback and we got the last bus package passed. That we're from 2 different parties. It's easily done. When I passed the complete, I worked for 4 years on a campaign to pass the complete streets at the city, that was a bipartisan vote. Most people voted for that. But we were concerned because Condon was a new mayor. We got him to go along with that too when he came on. He supported that initiative. I think it's just collaboration. Sorry.
All right. Affordable housing is an ongoing problem in Spokane. You all kind of touched on it in other questions. What specific suggestions do you have to tackle that particular problem of affordable housing? Kenny Klitsky?
So I've talked about, I think we all agree that we need a spectrum of housing that reflects the different needs of the citizens of our community. And so that means things for young professionals, that means things for families, that means things for affluent folks, that means things for people who are trying to downsize and people who are trying to get back on their feet. We used to have quite a bit of that in Spokane, but things have changed. And so it's going to take more effort to get those kinds of things built and make sure that they're affordable. I support the current housing trust fund that we have and that the state has, and I think we should do more to leverage that to try to get more affordable housing built in our community. But I think we need to make sure that it's built inside of our city. A lot of it's going to Airway Heights and Deer Park, which is not really an affordable place to live if you work in the city of Spokane. It requires you to drive, maintain a car. That's not affordable for everyone. So I think what we need to do is make a concerted effort to remove problems in our development regulations that prevent multifamily and affordable housing. I think we need to change our tax structure so that it doesn't unfairly disincentivize bigger projects in our city centers. Right now, if you own a vacant lot or a zombie building somewhere in our city, even if it's a high prime value place, you're paying very little taxes while your neighbor is paying a lot of taxes. And you can just sit there on that building and do nothing with it, even if it's a burden to your neighbors, without any cost or consequences to you. But you're benefiting from all of the infrastructure that is in our city. I think that people that are doing I'm sorry.
Sorry. Candidate Moore,
I know, it's really hard.
sorry.
I would say, building a livable Spokane is what I would like to see in my city. I will fight for access to affordable and attainable housing for all, because I believe housing is a fundamental for every individual and for families to thrive and to achieve the potential that they have been given. I don't think everybody wants to live downtown. Don't think everybody wants to live in the outskirts, but I'm not in favor of any moratoriums out at Latte or up at 5 Mile. I'm not. We need to keep growing. People, we are in a housing crisis. We're short. I forget the number, but it's a lot of houses. So why would we not want to build out? We can't always build up. I would like to see us build up. We have the infrastructure in downtown. Let's take those empty office buildings, build some apartments. But when we do it, let's have some low income housing down there along with fancy dancy. I mean, I think we need to find a balance for everything. And again, how do we get that balance? We listen and we talk and we build bridges with all of us. Thank you.
Candidate Moore, the next question, we'll start with the answer.
Okay.
Do you support more funding for the police department, and should that funding be directed to a specific area of the department?
I do support funding. I believe that we should not defund our police, but we should refund our police for all that they do for us. Yes, I believe that we should support our police. It should be a top priority in this city because that's going to create for us more safety. It's going to give us more comfort. I do support funding the police 100%. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I support our police chief that he can have a budget that he can work with the city to see what they need. But I am against this. I've seen it for the last couple of years. Defund the police. That's not, I say I will defend the police because they are going to care for me. They're going to take care of all of you here. You think about it. Why would we defund our police? Why? Outside of housing, that's what we want. We want protection. We want safety. So yes, I'm in favor of protecting our police, and never would I be in favor of any type of defunding. I think that the funds should be allocated. They should be done wisely. What do I say? Get involved, see what they're doing with it. But no, we will not defund the police in Spokane, Washington, as long as I am on city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Klitsky,
Can you repeat the question?
do you support more funding for the police department, and should that funding be directed to a specific area of the department?
I support fully and adequately funding our police department and all of our first responders. We have a little bit more of a complicated situation right now, though. So right now we have about 360 police officers funded, but we're about 60 officers short. I think it's more than 60 officers short. So we're not really dealing with a funding issue right now. And by the way, defunding the police was kind of an old slogan from 3 years ago when people were talking about trying to take control of what we would fund when we were trying to deal with police accountability and police reform issues. We've achieved a lot of those things now. So what we're asking our police to do takes a little more time, takes a little more staff. For instance, having body cameras. When I was on my ride along, one of the shift commanders pointed out to me, because I didn't know this, after an incident where there's a body camera recording, they have to like annotate in their file what's going on in each part of the video, which takes a lot of time. So what we've gotten from those reforms is things that cost a little bit more in resources. And that's why our city council has approved every budget request that has come before them from the police recently. So what I would prioritize is staff. I think that's the most important thing. I want them to be well rested. I want them to be supported on their shift, and I want them to be fully staffed. I think that's safer for everyone when you're not relying on overtime to just barely fill your shifts. At the doors, people want community resources officers back, and they want traffic
And your
controls. We need to get up
time-
to the staffing level to do that. Sorry,
That's
it's
all right.
got a lot of glare on it. It just looks white.
Sorry. Okay, do you think more bicycle paths are important? And if so, how would you fund them?
Well, it's hard, it's reflective.
Yeah, now it's got glare for Earl. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I'll listen.
1 second.
There you go.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Kenny Klitzky, do you think more bicycle paths are important? And if so, how would you fund them?
Yes, I do think more bicycle paths are important. I think it's important to have a network that works for every mode of transportation. We don't need every mode on every road, but we need a network that works so that people can get around our city using bicycles. I'm not much of a recreational bicyclist, but I will use bikes for transportation, and I need good routes to do that. And that's what a lot of people in our community want, is the option to bike to work and errands. And so if we create that network, which is in our comprehensive plan, we have a bicycle master plan, then we can get there. We already are doing infill on bicycle infrastructure with the Complete Streets Ordinance. So when we do a street bond now, it doesn't just cover curb to curb like it did before the Complete Streets Ordinance. All the infrastructure that's called for in the comprehensive plan gets built whenever there's a new repair of a road. So we're taking advantage of economies of scale. We've got the workers out there already. Let's have them complete the whole project instead of doing things in a piecemeal approach like we had before the Complete Streets Ordinance. If we want things to happen faster, then we do need to do good grant writing, which we could hire a grant writer for, and to take advantage of state and federal dollars for more multimodal transportation projects. But we also do have a system that will create that infill and build out that network eventually.
Any more?
Yes, I just would like to make the comment, we do have, just lost my thought. People, what do you call them? People, no. We do have people that, grant writers in our city, and I've heard you say we don't. I know we have one because I worked with them on an issue that I was doing with a health group for COPD. I think the bicycles are great, but I don't think they should take over the town. I think in the infrastructure of downtown and people getting to work, it's great. But I've also heard of people that lost their parking so they could put in bicycle lanes. I mean, we have to find a balance. There has to be balance. And I'm not sure when I don't ride a bicycle. I had one 20 years ago. I fell off, hurt my knee and said, I'm done. No more bicycling for me. But I do respect. I mean, I worked at Deaconess Hospital. We had a lot of doctors rode their bikes down South Hill. I have a friend that lives out on 5 Mile. He rides his bicycle to work every day at Sacred Heart. So I'm not against them at all, but I think we always have to look at them and be careful and keep, again, it's a balance, and we need to hear from everybody about who rides and who doesn't. Like I say, I'm not a bicyclist for fun or for work, or I don't even own a bicycle, but I will respect the people that do.
Thank you. Next question. We touched on a little bit earlier about homelessness. Do you support a regional approach to homelessness? If not, why not? And if so, why?
Is it me?
Yes,
Okay.
you'll start and then. Kenny.
When you say regional, I've been going to the consortium meetings that they have been having. And I think for our homelessness, it can't just be Spokane. Spokane cannot carry this burden. It needs to be Spokane. It needs to be the county. It needs to be surrounding areas. I mean, like Millwood, Liberty Lake, some of those, I've been talking with the mayors out there. No, they're not having much trouble with homelessness because they just send them all to Spokane. I listened to a lady the other day talk about being homeless in Spokane. She said, it's nice. It's pretty easy being homeless here. I get 3 meals a day. I can come back to my tent and get high and then go get lunch. A fact, I'm not making this up. This is what she said. So I think we need to be aware. I've talked with people downtown. They come from Yakima. They come from Moses Lake. We need to have not just here, we need to spread it out. We need to spread the gravy. It's not gravy, it's stinky, stinky. And we need everybody to be a part of it, not just us right here. And I think it's a good start, what they're doing with the the collaboration they're doing downtown with homelessness. But there are a few things I would like to look at, who's gonna decide who sits on the board to oversee all of the homelessness. All the money will go in one silo, but I would like to know who's gonna be in charge of that and who decides. So I think there are some things that need to be done, but I think it should be all around, not just us.
Thank you. Klitsky, your response to should there be a regional approach to homelessness? If not, why not? Yes, why?
I think it's a really good idea to share the regional burden and also share the regional resources of homelessness. I think that this effort is a good start. And I think they're still figuring out how they're going to govern it. It looks like there's going to be quite a few people from the community, and then quite a few elected officials and business leaders and agency folks. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty balanced approach. They've responded to some feedback as they've gone along. And I have a lot of hope for the effort. I think that one thing that'll be beneficial is getting all of those providers together and trying to eliminate some redundancy and some lack of coordination. What some of the providers have told me is that we have these different data management systems for homelessness that some of it does a good job tracking what a certain service provider does because it's part of their accountability for their grants. But what doesn't work well is when all the service providers try to take a look at it and understand the scale of problems and use the data for practical purposes. So it would be good if we had a better system that everyone can use so that we understand the scale of our problem. Right now, I think our data is a little bit incomplete. And we do need to remember that a lot of our population that is very housing insecure or currently homeless are children, people with disabilities, veterans, people who are elderly. And it's not easy for them. It really is.
You're at the end of your time. Thank you. We're coming down to the end of the forum, but we do give each candidate 2 minutes for a closing statement. Candidate Moore?
Okay. I guess the main thing that I want to say is I support our law enforcement 100%. I know defund, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take all the money, but I don't want any negative. I think we need to support the men in blue and firemen too, when you say that. And that's one of the things I do know. I do not support moratoriums like we just had at Lake Todd, if they want to do them up at 5 Mile. I think we are in a housing crisis, and I think you all know that. So we need to find affordable housing for all, and that's high density and low density. Again, we need to find the balance. The homeless encampments do not belong. They do not belong in front of our schools, our daycare, our churches. Absolutely. I need to take this down a notch because this is so personal, except because what I saw on Sunday, what stood out to me was here were these 3 people on the curb doing their business. And here's this beautiful park. Over in the West Central neighborhood, beautiful equipment for these kids. Nobody there. So I definitely know ifs, ands, or buts. And for Proposition 1, I will stand on that. And on the fluoridation that came up, I will say right here and now, I am against fluoridation, the people. And that's who I'm going to listen to, as long as it's in the best interest of our city. Said no. And what really gets me on that is they didn't say no once, they said it twice. I hear. So the main thing I want is safety in our city. And I think when we have safety, we'll start cleaning up the homelessness. We can start creating, everybody should have a home. Everybody.
Karen, your time's up. Candidate Klitsky, your 2-minute closing statement.
Well, thanks again to the League of Women Voters and Spokane Public Libraries for hosting this forum. I think it's great when we get together and talk about these issues. My experience doorbelling and coming to events like this shows that we have a lot of the same values. I'm hearing a lot of the same issues coming up. People are concerned about traffic. They're concerned about transportation safety. They're concerned about our infrastructure. They're concerned about our houseless population. They're concerned about drugs, and they're concerned about mental illness in our community and our ability to compassionately treat people experiencing those issues. And I will work hard and comprehensively to change these problems and make them into something that we can deal with. And I think that regional approaches, collaborative approaches, and comprehensive approaches are how we do that. And we have a lot of opportunities coming up with this regional homelessness plan that we're doing, but we also have a comprehensive land use and transportation plan coming up that will allow us to cut through some of these arguments and solve a lot of these problems with professional and data-driven processes. We, as part of comprehensive planning, you also do a capital facilities plan, which helps you set levels of service, like how long you sit at an intersection and wait, regardless of construction. Construction doesn't count. So what we've been going through lately with the bridges, it wouldn't fix that. You have to have the construction to fix the problems. But it also sets level of service for how many jail beds we have, how many parks we have, how many police officers we have. So what it does is decide what we need, and then it looks at our revenue projections and figures out how we can afford that. And if we can't afford that, then that's the time to look and see whether we need to raise revenue. But we need to get through that process first, get community input and get that data that we need. And I'm a big believer in getting data and getting public input before you make decisions, and respecting and honoring those processes. And I think we can end some of our divisiveness if we invest in that.
And your time's up. Thank you. Thank you both candidates for being here and your response to the questions. Yeah.
Somebody had suggested.